Season 3 of Beyond a Ballot is powered by DoorDash because just as we go beyond politics, DoorDash goes beyond delivery, investing in people, stories, and communities across Canada. DoorDash is committed to empowering and growing local economies across the country. Their first ever Canadian Community Impact Report shows that when DoorDash is present in local communities, businesses grow, consumers can access what they need more easily, and Dashers have the flexibility they need to pursue their financial goals. Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Amanda, and this is Beyond a Ballot,
Powered by DoorDash. Welcome to another episode of Beyond a Ballot. Today's episode is a special one. While I wasn't able to be there in person, my amazing co-host, Amanda, joined the Empire Club of Canada in Toronto for a live, wide-ranging conversation with former Toronto Deputy Mayor and the current CEO of Build Canada Homes, Anna Bailão. The event brought together business leaders and policy thinkers and community voices, all to talk about one of the most urgent challenges facing Canadians today: housing. Amanda and Anna dig into what's working, what isn't, and what Build Canada Homes is going to do for our country. Whether you're listening from your commute or your kitchen or your morning walk, settle in. Here's Amanda live from the Empire Club stage in Toronto with Anna Bailão.
There is a place that belongs to all of us, a place with a beauty all its own, a place graced by the presence of trailblazers, from Winston Churchill to the Dalai Lama, Audrey Hepburn to Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors. Visionaries, leaders, artists, storytellers, athletes. Those who come here with purpose, with lifetimes packed full of experience and unique perspectives. Not all were in the history books. Not everyone a household name, but every voice important. This is a place that has the power to connect us all. A place that leaves us inspired, stirred, and most importantly, thinking differently. It's the go-to place for conversations that matter. And while this place has no fixed address, it is here, on this stage, at this podium, that our most valuable national resource lives: open dialogue. Join us here as we share the ideas that drive this nation forward. Join us in this place. Welcome to the club, the Empire Club of Canada.
There were some words that kind of peppered through both your introductory remarks, some of the remarks that others have made, words like crossroads, challenge, and crisis. Increasingly more, we're hearing the word crisis associated with housing in Canada. Are we in a housing crisis?
We've been on a housing crisis for a long time. I think the sense of urgency is more noticeable now. I started working on housing issues since 2010, and in my opinion, there was a housing crisis at the time already. More on one side of the spectrum. It was more on the social, supportive. It hadn't caught up to what we now call the workforce housing. Now, and I often say, if somebody was to tell me in 2010 that governments had to interfere so that housing for families that make a household income of $90,000 would have to happen, I would say, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. But that's where we are today. And on top of it, right now, we have a housing sector crisis. Not only do people cannot afford, people cannot build. And that is, in certain markets, It's not the same across the country, but in certain markets, that will be aggravating things even more. And there's very issues, costs of construction, costs of taxes, the time that it takes, all these things. So what Canada Builds is doing is investing the public funds and public resources in trying to build the housing that the market will not produce. The market will not produce in terms of on their own. They'll build it. They will not produce the transitional housing, the social affordable housing. And we need to make sure that we are doing the investments in that. And at the same time, be a catalyst, create that pipeline for the modern methods of construction. So that then the market can pick up and start using more of that so that we at least can help solve a little bit of that. I think it's important to say as well, Build Canada Homes is a part of a strategy from the government. We need other things to happen for the ecosystem to work. The infrastructure, the way that I talked about how we're now being coordinated under one ministry is really important. But there's other market tools that many in here have been working with different ministries and so on that need to be part of the equation as well. But we have an opportunity right now because there's a significant commitment from this government to scale up the affordable housing, because we do, as an OECD country, we have a very low percentage of non-market housing and affordable housing. And we can put a lot of the companies in the private sector to work, create some affordability, put them to work, because this is a huge economic issue for our country.
You talked about a spectrum of affordability. What does that mean? When we talk about affordable housing, can you define that a little more for us?
So at Build Canada Homes, we are defining affordability as 30% of median income. And this was because of a few things. So one of the things that many of us in the room had advocated is on the national housing strategy was to be more regional responsive. The strategy was great, had great things, but because it was created on a national level, sometimes it was very hard to make work certain programs in Toronto versus Winnipeg or Prince Edward County or like whatever, because the economies are different. And so we are using a definition of 30% of affordable housing, which uses local medium incomes to respond to that reality. So across the spectrum, the housing spectrum, you have a cross of incomes. It doesn't mean that a house that you have a house income that's $70,000, and you have another family that has $19,000. I think I saw Jag Sharma. The average income at Toronto Community Housing is $19,000. It doesn't mean that these two families might not have affordability issues, because they might be having a way more than 30% of affordable housing. So what we need to understand and what we're recognizing is that there's a spectrum and that your income should not be spent more than 30% on shelter costs. Mm-hmm. And that goes from everything from the very transitional housing, the very social, all the way to workforce housing, fully gainly and people employed that we need to work in our cities to make our cities work. That today is very difficult, just the way that we're producing housing to create housing that they can't afford.
You also said in your speech, you talked about the fact that Canada doesn't need another housing program. It needs a housing delivery engine. Tell us more about that.
Many of the people that have working here, and Marlene is here from the Ontario Nonprofit Housing Association, it's tough to keep up with the programs and make the programs work.
Yeah.
And there's already lots of programs. And I was one of those that have been advocating for the government. You need to let us create the partnership, the innovation that is going to actually unlock the affordable housing. The projects that we see with private sector and nonprofit, and in some cases the private sector on their own and the nonprofit on their own, there's innovation out there, but sometimes they don't fit into a program.
Yes.
So now what we're doing is saying we have a few. We need to have affordable housing. It is a definition of 30%. So there's a few, little boxes little boxes that need to happen. But come with your innovation. Come with your proposals. We're here to work with you, to unlock your proposals. And we have very different tools. We can have equity. We can be an equity investor in a project. We can provide guarantees. Our risk level is much higher than what any other federal agency was. We can provide loans. We can provide grants. We can provide bridge loans. There's very different ways that we can come at the issue. And we're also speaking with other organizations, with banks, with philanthropic organizations to attract more capital into this. With pension funds, we want to make sure that we are not the only $13 billion. There's going to be other ones that are going to invest with us because, this is a reality that affects everybody today. You keep hearing people that say their kids cannot afford a home where they grew up. And so we want to be a catalyst for that investment and be a partner for the people that are developing the housing.
I think for a number of people in this room, the financing question is really interesting. It's one of the three pillars. It's on your website. On the website, it says, we provide long-term financing for housing builders. Tell me more about that. Also, I think it's interesting you use housing builders versus home builders. Tell me more about that as well.
Well, a home is just more than
just more than one. Just more than one. And like the marital home that you'll need with your new fiance, wherever he may be. Yeah. Okay.
And so we will be providing, like I said, we can provide loans, we can provide equity, we can provide, so we have different financial tools. And the other thing that I should mention, it can be stackable. Actually, we appreciate it to be stackable. We don't want to be the only ones on the occasion. We need to stretch those $13 billion. It's an initial investment, but there's only $13 billion, we all know. It sounds like a lot of money. I could be out of a job in a month. I did not have to leave this room. Just with the people in this room, I can guarantee you I would be out of a job in a month. So, everybody's laughing because everybody knows it's true. So we need to act quickly, to be smart. We need to be innovative. And listen, it's a bit of a challenge to all of you. We keep telling government, get out of the way. We know best. We innovate. We're ready for your innovation. We're ready for your partnership. All we have is a few things that we need. Affordable housing. We don't even tell you how much affordable housing. We're going to be seeing who's going to bring us the best deal. But affordable housing, we need to create capacity in the sector, make sure that you're partnering out there with great nonprofits that are out there, and make sure that you're using modern methods of construction. And we're not dictating which modern methods of construction it is as well. So we want to see how creative this is because we are ready to partner, to stack, to bring other partners to the table, and to get shovels on the ground. That's what we're going to be there for. We don't want you to just come in and check the boxes. We want to get shovels on the ground.
You said $13 billion, you could be out of a job, it's not that much, but people have criticized it as an expensive program, an expensive investment for the government. What do you say to that criticism?
Expensive? Expensive is going to be all the workers that these people have that don't have a job pretty soon. That's expensive for the government. The expensive will be where people don't have opportunity and can't focus on their studying, on their health. Expensive is going to have people in emergency rooms versus being housed properly. That's what's going to be expensive for governments. This is the cheapest way, the most economically and the smartest way to deal with a lot of issues that we have in our country and to prepare our next generation for success.
Well said. So every week I do a program on CBC called Power and Politics. And I think, I was saying this to some people in the audience, I don't think a week has gone by in the last 18 or 24 months when the word housing hasn't come up. But the word most associated with that is accelerating. There seems to be both a skepticism around how quickly this can happen. So when you talk about things like shovels in the ground, 4,000 more homes. For all of the skeptics out there who say this can't happen quickly, what do you say?
We need to start. We have part of the equation. We're going to be investing hard on the modern methods of construction. We know, we've seen it, that it can accelerate. We also know that there's going to be huge pressure in the skilled trades coming our way. And so we need to innovate in this way as well to make sure that we're prepared to have the production that we need, and therefore that we have the adequate numbers. I mean, there's only so much, LiUNA can't go out there and bring people that they don't have. So we need to go to the other side of the equation and say, how can we change the way that we're producing? Because there's only a certain amount of people that we have, and there's only a certain amount of time frame. Now, all this needs, there's the way that you construct, and there's the way that you approve. And so that is another equation that needs to make sure that is sped up. And a lot of it is with conversations that need to happen around municipalities. And we are going to be coming in with some funds to work with municipalities as well. Municipalities are very interested in also using their own land and are coming to Build Canada Homes with their own proposals. And these are things that we're going to be putting on the table. Speed up the approvals process, but also being a catalyst for this industry so we start creating the pipeline and they can start producing faster and faster. I know that there's some manufacturing productions here, and I'm going to say this, I've only been in the job for 2 months, but I don't think there's a manufacturing plant out there that is producing at capacity right now. Am I wrong? No, I don't think anybody is producing at capacity right now because there's not a pipeline. And the more they produce, the costs and the timing is going to be reduced. And that's why we need to make sure that through the good investment that we need, that we start creating that pipeline so that eventually everybody has access to that cheaper production of housing and quicker production of housing using Canadian lumber and Canadian steel.
I have a question about that, but before I get it, you paused a little on approvals. Do you expect, if you were to think of what the bottlenecks could be and alleviating some of those, is this one of them for you with the municipalities?
So far, the municipalities that we've been working have been very open and ready to work. It's always...
We struck one.
We're going to be developing like many of you. So it could be, it is something that we need to keep in mind that we're going to be working closely as well. But sometimes it's also the infrastructure.
Yes.
And that's why it is so crucial, that connection that we now have with infrastructure funding, because municipalities need to have the infrastructure so we can come and create the housing as well. And that connection is really important for the municipalities. And sometimes it's not their own fault as well. We need both to work hand in hand.
Okay, I'm going to stay on this for a minute because you sat on city council, you ran for mayor. It's recognized across the country that Toronto seems to be a market that's very difficult to fix. How in this market can Build Canada help?
Build Canada, I think there's a great opportunity. We have an incredible nonprofit housing sector that is ready to get going, but we have an incredible private sector as well that has projects ready to go. All the development industry in here has some project that they could get going on the next 12 months. So who actually wants to get those projects into modern methods of construction, get some affordable housing in there, wants to be creative, and wants to get shovels on the ground? We're ready to partner. We're ready to receive the ideas. So that's how we can help in this very, very difficult market. We're not going to end. It's not going to be the solution for everything. There needs to be more tools. But we're part of the conversation. And our mandate actually dovetails with some of the work that I'm sure you're all anxious to get going and get done.
You used Buy Canada. We're all talking about Buy Canada. Just yesterday, the Prime Minister made another announcement, sectoral supports for both the steel and softwood lumber industry. What is the intersection here between those supports for that industry and what you're trying to do in your role?
So obviously, we did some math. John, do you remember the numbers? Just on
I'm not on the stage.
700. It was actually part of because we are going to be pushing hard for Canadian lumber, and houses will lose different levels of Canadian lumber, so we average it out. So for about $700 million, that we said, like, if we put out $700 million next year, there would be an implication for close between 70 and 120, if I'm not mistaken. That was the number. It's around there that could translate for the industry in work for the industry. So as we are investing, we need to be smart about how we're investing. We're investing in affordable housing, and we're being a catalyst for the modern methods of construction. While we're doing that, let's make sure that we are buying our own products, that we support the industries local. So this investment that is happening at affordable housing, talk about an expense. Look at how much benefit we're getting out of it. Not only are we solving all those problems, now we're being a catalyst for an industry, and we are actually supporting industries that, because of the situation that we are, desperately need our support. And we need to think as a country. It's a build Canada. So we need to have more of these policies, and that's what we're going to be part of working with the government, and we receive the orders from the Prime Minister, obviously, and the Minister, and so this is a big mandate that we have, and that we're going to be looking at all the proposals as the Buy Canadian.
When those who may be watching, listening, referring back to this interview, and they're feeling really discouraged about the idea of ever owning a home, owning an affordable home, or their children owning a home, get personal for a minute and tell us, what does your work look like 5 to 10 years down the road?
Well, we certainly hope to have scaled up non-market and affordable housing. That's a part of the equation.
Yep.
And that it will include, and I'm going to hear a clap right now because he's in the room, includes affordable home ownership. I told you. But it also means that through the work that we've done, we've been able to be a catalyst for an industry that is going to help the market in general. That the market is going to be able to reduce the cost of production through that work that we're doing to have more modern methods of construction as part of their building, and other initiatives that the government is going to have as well. And so we will have people being more able to afford a home. But we are doing both. We're doing rental, and we will be trying to work on some programs for affordable home ownership and have an impact on how we build in this country.
You talked in your speech about 4,000 homes being built. What does this look like, though? Like, when all is said and done, when this $13 billion is spent, this initial funding is spent, what does it look like?
Can I start by saying
Yes.
that it's not 4,000 for $13 billion? Because when Build Canada Homes, can we start by saying that?
Okay.
We're not going to do 4,000 homes with $13 billion. So what is happening as well is Canada Lands is coming under Build Canada Homes. So they have sites, surplus sites that they are now owned, and so we are going to have those sites to build affordable housing. The first initial 6 sites are going to produce up to 4,000 units. And those are already, like, site servicing is being done in some of them. 4 of them have RFQs out, and we're well underway. There's another 18 properties that we are now prioritizing and looking through that we're going to be developing as well for affordable housing. And believe me, if the Prime Minister is so committed, and the Ministry, to have an accelerated way to get us more land, we're going to have a lot of land. Believe me, from the way what I saw and what I heard, we're going to have land coming our way in terms of surplus. It's a priority for this government, not only the financial side, but also the land, making land available for us to be able to build. So we're working on the first front. So these are all projects that will have shovels in the ground next year.
You showed a picture of the portal that went up at 10 a.m. this morning. What are you looking for from this room? What kind of projects are the projects that are going to be the projects that get the first green light?
So there's 2 kinds of projects. One is we have $1 billion for transitional housing. So we're going to be, there's a desperate need. You walk out the street and you can't ignore the immediate need for transitional housing. So we've been in conversations with cities as well and with provincial governments because we need the operating and wraparound services for that. So we are going to be looking at transitional housing. We want to get those out the door as soon as possible. A lot of municipalities also have experience in creating transitional housing using modular. So it actually, there's experience, there's a comfort level. We know we can get these going. The other thing is what projects are ready over the next 12 months. And some of the conversations might lead into even larger portfolios, because that's one of the conversations we want to make sure that we lead into, but that are ready over the next 12 months that create affordability. And we're going to be looking at who is able to provide the highest amounts of affordable housing using the modern methods of construction, what kinds of partnerships, what kinds of innovation are coming in. So we're going to be looking through that through the portal. And there's really interesting partnerships that are starting to, we're hearing through, questions that are being asked, and I'm very hopeful. I just ask one thing of this room. We're moving fast. We have been in existence for 2 months, and we have opened the portal. But we're still staffing up. And I hope that you take that in consideration. The model that we want is a model of partnership and cooperation. But if you don't get an email back the following day, please take that in consideration. But we are here to partner with you and to work with you.
Love that. Are you able to give, you said there's a couple of creative partnerships that are sort of percolating. Are you able to give an example of what that looks like?
Oh my God, no. That would be giving out the secret.
Okay, fine.
We wanna,
no secrets on this stage. That's fine.
But you know what? There are examples of many partnerships that have been done in different parts of the country that have created affordable housing between private and nonprofit, between private sector on their own. It's just been so hard. We want to make that a lot easier. And so that we can move faster and we can scale that up, and we can start working in portfolios so people are not going every time they have a partnership, they go once and they apply and they check the boxes and they check all that and the credit gets checked and everything gets done. So we don't do that, and we start creating in portfolios, and we go through a process that is very different from we have today.
Are you replicating a model that you've seen work elsewhere? Is there a jurisdiction that's done this really well?
I'm replicating, no, I am executing on the vision from the Prime Minister, to be honest with you. He's so committed, the Prime Minister and the minister in this government, they're so committed to putting this into execution, to scaling the affordable housing, and to make sure that there's a catalyst for this industry. And that has been what allows us to move this so quickly. We know when Build Canada Homes comes around, right, to any department, everybody is ready to work with Build Canada Homes because everybody knows this is a major and key priority for this government and the Prime Minister.
I want to talk about you for a moment because we're going to run out of time. You said this is your personal mission. There's a pretty powerful statement. How did you went from city council, running for mayor, you took a step away from a political life in order to take on this role. Why this area? Why this issue? And why is it your personal mission?
Okay. Psychotherapy here a little bit.
It's for the podcast as well.
Two things. I first believe that there's no more defining issue for our country than housing. Because it defines the opportunities that people have. It defines our economy. Like, how do we go out there and attract investment if we don't have the human capital that wants to come and live here? So aside from being, I think, a crucial economic driver and social driver for our country, for the country that we love, with the values that we love, I think personally as well, it's been something that always touched me. You know, my parents had to come to Canada because they had bought a condo and they couldn't afford really to buy a condo. And for me, at a 12-year-old, not seeing your parents for a couple years, it was something that housing is always important. It's like, there's nothing more important. You know, kids might not see their parents for a couple of years if housing is not there. Right. So for me, it's a driver, right? I got into politics to get these kinds of things done, not because I love politics. Sorry if I disappointed anybody. It's what I can do, right? And so when this opportunity came, and it's funny, and many of you in the room have heard me say this. In 2010, when I got elected, everybody criticized me for start working on housing because everybody's like, there's no win. What are you doing? Nobody votes on housing. What are you talking about? You're spending so much time. I got some of those calls now saying, what are you doing? There's no win in this issue. This is horrible.
You got those calls after getting a call from the Prime Minister to take the role?
There was people that care about me. Yeah. You know, it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
But somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
And if we don't try, we don't know if we succeed. And I want to give it a try.
Okay, I have a few minutes before I have to turn it over. Success. What does success look like when this is over? Can you
this is not over. This is here to stay.
Can you confidently say, though, that the work that you're doing is going to help alleviate where we started, which was the crisis, the housing crisis in Canada? Do you believe that this work, the mandate, the investment, the people in the room, do you believe that we can confidently say to this younger generation who's about to ask the question about will they be able to afford a home, that we're able to get there with this promise, with this plan?
I am part of the puzzle. You know that puzzle that I showed you that we have the Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure? We're building those communities, and we need the housing policy, the infrastructure money, the housing money, the Canadian Infrastructure Bank to come, the CMHC to come and continue to build more market housing, to work more market housing. I want to be able to be affecting and touching less and less of the housing spectrum. I want to have the market to be able to produce the housing for some of the housing right now that I'm going to have to get involved to produce that workforce housing. So success is going to mean that we're going to have a bigger share of the housing numbers for affordable housing, non-market housing, and supportive housing, but also that the industry has picked up, that the market has picked up, and that I'm part of it. But that's what success would look like.
And what do you need from the private sector to get there?
I need their innovation. I need their advice. I need their partnership. And I need them to give us the opportunity to work with them as I'm going to give them the opportunity to work with us.
We are going to throw it to a question from, I think it's a video question, from one of the students in the audience.
Hi, my name is Jaspreet Kaur-Garewal. I'm a JD MBA student at Osgoode Hall Law School and the Schulich School of Business. My question is, given the housing shortage, what tools or strategies do you believe will best ensure that new housing growth is matched by the development of complete, well-serviced communities with access to schools, parks, transit, groceries, healthcare, and other essentials?
Great question.
Great question.
I think we touched on a few things. And going back to the private sector, before I start this, I just want to say the success of Build Canada Homes is the success of everybody in this room.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because if Build Canada Homes doesn't succeed, it means that people here are not succeeding. And that's a much bigger issue. Yeah. So with regards to this question, I think what we're doing in making sure that the infrastructure money is flowing, that coordination that needs to happen, very important. Also the work that we need to do with our provinces and our cities. It is so frustrating for people that want to work on housing, the lack of communication and coordination between governments. It is probably one of the things that frustrates the most everybody in this room. And I think the more alignment we can create, and I see Build Canada Homes as trying to help with that, because we're going to be in the trenches right now with everybody else, because we're developing land, we're working with partnerships, but at the same time, we're at the table with the federal government and provincial government. So we are going to be really strong advocates for the sector, both the nonprofit, for some of these challenges, some of these barriers. We're not going to be able to solve it all, but we're going to be a strong voice in there. And that coordination, that cooperation that needs to happen with 3 levels of government, and that priority that needs to be given to infrastructure and housing is crucial. And the coordination between the two. It's not about just building the housing, it's building the communities and creating the opportunity for people to succeed.
For sure. I'm going to add on a little, I have 2 minutes, I can do it. Her question specifically around things like green spaces and creating community, how do you, When you're looking at projects, when you're asking people to bring projects in through the portal, is this part of the consideration as well, that these projects are considering the community aspect? Or is this like, no, we just got to get houses built right now?
No, we'll consider proximity to transit. We'll consider, the need of, we want to do good development. So if you're going to bring single-family homes beside a subway station, we're not going to subsidize. We're not going to work with you. We want to make sure that it is leveraging what we need. It is close to transit because there's an affordability that comes with that, but also that responds to the needs of that community.
Yes.
So we're going to actually be looking at numbers very closely. What's the deepest need in Winnipeg? Where do we have to act the most in Winnipeg versus Toronto? It's different. I don't have to act as much on the workforce housing in Winnipeg as much as I still have to do here in Toronto. There's a lot of investment that we need to do in the transitional and social housing in that city. So we are going to be looking at where do we need to act the most in certain parts and have projects that respond to that as well. Absolutely, we will.
Anna, thank you so much. It's so exciting to talk to you. I hope we get to be back on this stage a year from now to talk about all those shovels in the ground. And thanks to everyone for listening. It's a wonderful discussion.
Thank you for listening. New episodes air every Friday.
Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and find us at beyondaballot.com.